I'm Bo Johnson. There's a warning buried in the Supreme Court decisions that most of us have not heard of before. A warning about something the court called, quote, the prestige of the government, end quote. Not prestige as in honor, prestige as in undue influence, prestige as in automatic credibility, prestige as in an illusion of legitimacy powerful enough to distort justice itself. The court recognized a simple truth. When the government speaks, people believe, not because the government proved anything, but because it is the government. And here's where the danger becomes real. Today's public officials do not converse with Americans. They do not relate. They do not explain. They do not justify. They do not engage. They certainly do not answer questions. Instead, they avoid, deflect, obfuscate. They talk in circles, all while relying on the prestige of their office to hide the fact that they never responded at all. A citizen asks about authority, and they change the subject. A journalist presses for proof, and they pivot to emotion. A legislator dodges with talking points crafted to say nothing at all. We see it all the time. And because the government carries this built-in prestige, most Americans assume the non-answer must somehow be an answer. This is the illusion the Supreme Court warned about. The government's prestige can replace evidence, conversation, and accountability, and it conditions the people to accept silence as legitimacy. Officials avoid jurisdictional questions because prestige does the heavy lifting. They evade consent questions because prestige papers over the gaps. They sidestep constitutional limits because prestige quiets the public long enough to continue the performance. Prestige is not law. Prestige is not authority. It is not proof. It is the curtain that hides the absence of all three. But here is the harsh reality the Supreme Court's warning points directly to. Government officials weaponize that prestige. They use it to injure. They use it to intimidate. They use it to prosecute and imprison. U.S. attorneys, cloaked in the prestige of the United States, can walk into a courtroom and turn presumption into proof, turn opinion into fact, narrative into guilt, and the jury, conditioned by the weight of the prestige of the government, believes that narrative. This is not theory. This is actual experience. This is actually done every day in this country. The prestige of the government was used to convict and imprison me. The prestige of the government was used to convict and imprison Orlando Carter. And this abuse does not happen only in federal courtrooms. It happens at every level of government. A city inspector walks onto a property and enforces something that does not exist. A rule never written, a standard never adopted, a requirement no law actually supports. And yet people comply. Why? Because he carries the badge. He wears the title. Because he is cloaked in the prestige the Supreme Court warned us about. And at every tier of government, from Washington, D.C. down to the smallest local office, prestige becomes a weapon. Because I said so. Because this is how it's done. Because that's the rule. Because I represent the government. No statute cited, no authority shown, no lawful foundation required. Prestige substitutes for proof, and the people obey. And that is why federal, state, and local officials avoid answering questions. The moment they answer directly, the illusion collapses. Ask a question and they retreat to talking points. Press for the statute and they cite none. Request delegation and they offer slogans. Demand jurisdiction and they shift to their narrative. They avoid because they cannot prove. They deflect because they cannot justify. They obfuscate because the truth dismantles their performance. And that is where the Liberty Dialogues stand. We ask the questions that prestige cannot support. And when Americans demand proof instead of watching the show, the prestige of the government loses its power. When the curtain falls, the illusion breaks, and the people reclaim the role the Constitution already assigned them, the authority in this nation, the final authority in this nation, not spectators beneath the glow of government prestige. And something else becomes impossible to ignore. Behind the polished speeches, behind the evasions and deflections, behind the prestige that shielded them for decades, we finally see the performances for what they are. In Spanish, there is a word that captures this perfectly: payaso, a clown. Because when an elected official avoids real questions, dodges accountability, recites empty talking points, and performs instead of governing, they are not leaders. They are actors in costume playing a role the public was conditioned to respect. And the truth is simpler and far more uncomfortable. Their act worked only because we believed it. The prestige only had power because we allowed it. The clowns only ruled the stage because we kept applauding. Remove the ignorance, remove the gullibility, remove the automatic belief in government prestige, and the clown stands exposed on an empty stage. No authority, no legitimacy, no lawful foundation. Just a payaso, a simple clown, revealed at last. And when the people stop clapping for the performance, the show ends and self-government begins again. And as always, may truth reign supreme.